Shalom, shalom. It has been a minute, and I am excited about this new chapter for the Dialogue with Pastor T. So, I have been wanting to do this series for a long time, and now finally, God has given me the grace to do that. So, I am going to be in this series, I'm going to be talking about life in the diaspora. Yeah. I'm going to be talking about life in the diaspora. Um, I'm going to be speaking about it and sharing my own experience as well as other people's experiences that I have come across. And I'm going to be talking about them, about the experience of living away from home. From as always, all my subjects, all my topics always come from a Christocentric perspective as well. So, and I'm also going to be infusing culture as well, how all that gets impacted when we are living outside of our native countries. So, for example, marriage and parenting. How is it impacted? One, when you are both from the same country, from the same culture, and then you come into a new culture, how does that impact your marriage? Does it impact the way you parent? And let's talk about it. Or maybe you came and you were single, and then you, among other things, you found love, which is great. Praise the Lord. You found love, and you got married to a foreigner. How did you navigate the differences in your culture? How did you navigate the differences sometimes in your belief system? As some of us, in most African countries, most Africans, we our families are not as nuclear as in the West. In the West, the very, very, very limited number of people that can be called family that you can go out of your way for. But for us, is the whole village. So there are expectations and there are responsibilities. Now, it's not that you have to take care of the whole village, but there are certain ways of living for some of us from Africa that are different from here in the West. How did you navigate that? How did you talk about them? And how did you come to an understanding with your spouse without impacting negatively your marriage? Parenting, like I said, we are going to be talking about parenting. We're going to be talking about financial obligations. Do you have any financial obligations with people at home? How are you navigating that if you are in a relationship? And then there are people who came here and married. One part of the unit came, the one spouse came first and then was here for a while and then brought the other spouse, and now you're together, but somehow there's a disconnect. What happens when there is a disconnect? There are some people who work through it and they get to go on an adventure of rediscovering one another. And then there are some people who things just don't jive. The roles have kind of changed. Sometimes the roles have, there are certain roles that are expected of women, especially when you're coming from Africa. There are some roles that have certain roles that are generally for women, and then there are some roles that are for men. But living in the diaspora has shown us that those roles can switch, right? Those, and some of those roles can be, they are not roles. Everybody does what the family unit needs. So has your marriage been impacted? There are some people who that marriage they couldn't work through the differences, or the distance that had transpired while one was living in one continent and the other was in another continent, and it has impacted their relationships. It has impacted their relationship with their children. Some of us left our children home for a long time, and then now the children are here. We have been reunited, and with the reuniting, there comes some things that impact us psychologically, mentally. It's like we are getting to learn each other again, and then there is always that whole thing of you abandoned me, or there is resentment. There is all kinds of things, all kinds of feelings that people have when they finally reunite after having been separated for a long time. How did you navigate that? And then we are going to be talking about our cultural, some of the cultural things that we do. Are you still practicing certain cultures? Are you still paying lobola or being given lobola for your children when they're getting married, or for you did your spouse, who is a foreigner, understand why lobola needed to be paid, or dowry, what it needed to be paid to your parents? And then we are going to navigate and talk about international students. What is life like for international students when they come here? Most people come blind. They maybe they have gone online, they have heard other people say this is how it is and all that, but when we come here, it's a whole different, there's a cultural shock, there is a shock for weather can be a big thing as well, a lot of things. And now, especially when you come here as a young person, now you don't have that support system that you had when you were at home. How do you navigate life away from your parents, away from the support system that you were accustomed to for the first 19 years of your life? Now that you are adulting, how is being an adult in a foreign land working out for you, or is it not working out? And then there are some people who come here and then they get involved in drugs, they get involved in crime, they get involved in all kinds of things. How does that impact your life here, the life of your loved ones, and the life of your loved ones back home? How does it also impact the community? Do we all get kind of lumped into, oh, Zimbabweans are A, B, C, D, or Nigerians, or no, don't trust South Africans, that kind of thing? Does that impact you? Is that a burden on you, or you really don't care? You're just living your life and stuff happens, and that's what it is. It is what it is. And then we are going to be talking about grief. There are so many things that we can talk about, but one of the things that really, really hits home for me is grief. Grieving away from home is tough. We Africans grieve a little bit different. It's not that it's different. Okay, so we're going to talk about it. What are the differences, and how are you navigating grieving from a distance? And then we are going to talk about the brain drain. The brain drain out of Africa. Is there something that we can do as a community, as an African community? Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, don't come to America, don't go to the UK, don't go. After all, I've been out here for more than 3 decades now. So who am I to say somebody don't go to the diaspora? But my question is, as a community, as Africans, is there something that we can do to manage the brain drain? We cannot stop it. Clearly, we cannot stop it. Migration has been happening from time immemorial. So we are not going to stop it. But is there a way in which we can manage it effectively? Are there some things that we can learn from other countries, from other communities that bring back their people? The thing that comes into my mind are the Jewish community. The Jewish community have been talking about going back to Israel, going back home, and bringing people from all over the world. Let's go back home. Let's go back home. Is that something that we can do as Africans? And so we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about our responsibility to the nations that we left at home. Do we have a responsibility? Or do you feel like you have a responsibility? Do you have a burden for your nation? Or are you like, you know what? I got away and each person for himself and God for us all? Maybe that's how you think. I don't know. We are also going to be talking about some people when they come into the diaspora. They get into they settle, and then they semi-settle for some of us. Me, I semi-settled, and then I just had a burden to take care of orphans back home. Is that something that drives? Is there something that you would be interested in? Is that something that you are doing? Are you a philanthropist in your own way? Are you being a philanthropist right here in the diaspora? Are you involved in the community? Maybe you have started an NGO. Maybe you are a volunteer. What are some of the lessons learned? How are you navigating being able to manage your family as well as uh, helping being a part of the solution of problems within your community? Or you don't care, whatever happens, it happens. You have your own problems. And listen, there is no right way or wrong way to of looking at this. We are just having a conversation. We are having a frank dialogue, and I am going to be sharing mostly, like I said, from my own experience and other experiences of other people that I have met across the way, always from a Christocentric perspective. So I pray that we will have some fun. We'll have some serious dialogue. That we are not just going to be talking about it, but what are some of the lessons learned? How can we help others who are still thinking about coming to the diaspora? Or maybe there are some people who have come in the diaspora and they are finding it difficult to settle. Do we have some resources that we can share with them so that they can also be settled as well as in the same way that some of us have been settled? So I hope to see you again. This series is starting on February 1st. So I hope that you're going to join me. God bless you.